let's get into our movie, the first of our movie reviews. And that's the one that we missed, which is Ghostbusters, 1984. Okay, 1984.
Just say the good one. I
Yeah,
think
the
people
good one.
understand what that is.
Geez. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, Ghostbusters is about four men, three of them, being from academia, scientists who study paranormal technology, and then you have one man who's the everyman who is kind of like the audience proxy and kind of like reacts how we would react if we were to see ghosts or supernatural occurrences. But they are what is it? They are kicked out of academia, and so they resort to starting this business, kind of like exterminators, but for supernatural entities. And um, at first it's kind of slow, but then all of a sudden, the paranormal activity within New York begins to go into overdrive, and there's all so business starts picking up, and then they're introduced to this woman who's having all these paranormal instances in her apartment, and it's later found out that the supernatural happenings are effect of from this Babylonian or Sumerian god named Zul, who is who's going to bring about the apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah, that whole the premise of the movie is kind of, I don't know, kind of interesting. The just like that whole building was designed to be kind of like a gateway for it was the worshippers of this Babylonian Sumerian god, um and yeah, with Ghostbusters, it's kind of the one. I had to say, it makes me sad that like that feminist claptrap Ghostbusters is going to be what a generation thinks of as the original Ghostbusters.
Well, I
um,
think I heard that they're gonna deep six that Ghostbusters really hard because Jason Ivan Reitman's son, is coming out with a proper third movie for the original two Ghostbusters.
yeah, that's what I've been hearing that, and oh my god, the backlash from the crazy ass feminists is coming out about this.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think well, I mean, you pretty much like, and here's the thing with like the movie, it's actually pretty straightforward, and I think you've summarized the plot pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, so what are some things that you really liked about the movie? What character do you think did like stood out to you, like to be kind of like your favorite? What did you enjoy? What did you enjoy about the movie?
Well, for me, I think this movie is sometimes miscategorized as a comedy, when in fact I think it's more of a horror movie with comedic elements. Just like in just the way that some of the shots are done, like the one the opening one in the library, and like the all the like kind of supernatural things are happening as the librarian is going through the stacks, and it's just and then the final, the kind of accelerated close up at as like the kind of the ghost, and the implied ghost kind of attacks her. It's all like film language from horror movies, and I think so I think that this movie is often miscategorized as a comedy, when in fact I think it should be categorized as a horror movie with comedic elements. Um,
I would say that too, and I think maybe why I think of it more as a like a horror, like kind of like as a comedy film,
mhm.
and because I remember growing up watching the animated series. Do
Right,
you?
right. Yeah, the real
And so I'm
Ghostbusters.
right, and I think that's more fresh in my mind than the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the movie.
And so I'm thinking, oh, because the cartoon is like it's great. It has a lot of like comedy elements to it, all that stuff.
Hmm.
And I also forget that like Slimer, he was their companion in the animated series, not in the movie.
Right, yeah.
So
Slimer was actually the first ghost that they busted, like, professionally.
right, so it's kind of going back, I would definitely watching it again. I would agree with you that yeah, it's a horror movie with comedic elements.
Hmm.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yes, I thought so too. Um, okay, so you asked which character that stood out to me the most. Well, you know, it's gonna be cliche, but Bill Murray steals the show. I mean, he is the,
Yeah,
he's the most, he's the biggest personality within the group, and so, and
I would think he's kind of the main character. I think Peter Venkman is the main character. Like we see him the most.
this is true. Yeah, and he has like the most interact. Yeah, he does have a majority of this, of the screen time. So, um, so probably Bill Murray's, Pete Venkman. Um, maybe just in terms of kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the foil, just being the foil to the Ghostbusters. Um, that EPA guy is another person that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
Just because he's the foil to the Ghostbusters, and it kind of exemplifies the kind of government bureaucracy, uh, the kind of cliche government bureaucracy character. Because he comes in, swings his he swings the government's big dick around, and gets things done just purely because he's told to, and because he can.
There,
And so,
yeah, it's funny when I think of that stuff. There's a funny line from The Simpsons. So it's like where it's like I work for the government. Like I don't. It's like it's something like where I work for the federal government. It's like I don't actually have a thought or opinion of my own.
right, yeah, because I think Peck was the character's name. He only comes in because there's like this new technology that the Ghostbusters created, and they have no idea what it is or how it works, and so merely going on that basis, they want to shut off the containment device that they use to store the ghosts, and and even like the DWP guy, he comes in and looks at their equipment. It's like, hey man, I've never seen any configuration like this. Maybe we shouldn't mess with it. And of course, being emboldened and empowered by the federal government is like, no, it's like we have to shut it off. And so what is it? So of course, because of ignorance and incompetence, that's what causes the apocalypse to ensue. And I don't know, and for some reason, I feel like this movie is a little bit of a prophecy. In that, if when the apocalypse does happen to us in this life, it'll be because of government ignorance and incompetence.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, hell, I think the government is fairly incompetent right now.
Right? Yeah. No argument for me. Although my favorite, okay, what I will say is my favorite one-liner in this movie was when they're in the mayor's office and they're explaining things to the mayor, and Ray's like, oh, Dickless over here came and shut off our power, and that's what caused the ghost to escape. And the mayor asks, it's like, oh, is that true? And then Peter comes back and says, yes, this man has no dick.
Yeah. That's right. I was. You and I had the same one-liner from the movie that we. I about died when I was like, I forgot about that line. It's like,
right?
I totally forgot about that line when I rewatched it. It's like, oh man, that was great.
Yeah, I literally laughed out loud. It was
Yeah.
it's like, yes, it's true. He has no dick.
Oh my gosh.
Although,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, what is it? Uh, I totally forgot about this, but cameos are cameos. But Reginald Vell Johnson, you know, Carl Winslow, Al Powell from Die Hard makes a cameo in this movie.
That's right. He does.
Yeah, he plays
Um.
again. He plays a cop, and he left, he's the one that gets the Ghostbusters out and off to, like, I think, to go see the mayor or something.
He's definitely typecast as a cop, I think.
Right?
I don't think I've seen Reginald Val Johnson do anything else in a movie.
I know, right? Although
Yeah, because
I do remember he made a cameo in CSI as a psychologist for one episode.
I didn't see that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think I remember it because uh, it wasn't
Where you're like, wow, he's not a cop.
yeah, for one, it wasn't too far off from when Family Matters ended, because CSI was kind of, came on the scene like in the early 2000s, and that's when about the time Family Matters went off the air, and so
Right,
like it
right.
wasn't that too far off from that. And then again, like you said, it's like, oh my god, he's not playing a cop. So
Was there anything that you did not like about Ghostbusters?
anything I did not like about Ghostbusters? It's maybe the character of Lewis that Rick Moranis plays.
Doesn't he become a Ghostbuster in Ghostbusters 2?
Sort of, yes. He does strap up in the second one, but I don't think I don't think he becomes officially a Ghostbuster. Um, but it's also weird because there's like a weird continuity error, because in the first one he is an accountant, but in the second one he is a lawyer, because he's the but he uh, because he defends the Ghostbusters in court in the second one. But in the first one, he distinctly says that he's an accountant, and even like when
That's
he
right.
throws on that party to kind of, as kind of a sneaky way of trying to get Dana to hang out with him. He's like saying like, oh yeah, like I got, I told, I put this, that's why I didn't invite my friends, I invited my clients because I could put this as a work expense.
Yeah, I didn't like. Yeah, you're right, but I did. I would agree with you.
Yeah, he
I
was
didn't
like
really
kind of like,
like
I don't
him.
know if it was just his performance, but he was like just like really grating, and I didn't like. It's funny because generally speaking, I enjoy Rick Moranis, but or his performances, but this one was just like very kind of like, it's kind of like grated me the wrong way.
What do you? Was this like one of his first performances? You think?
Uh,
Because I know he was really kind of big in the '80s and very early '90s, and he kind of like left
right.
Hollywood after that. But
Right.
I
I
think
mean, yeah, because
because this
he
movie
makes a
is
he
more.
makes an appearance in Brewster's Million, one of my favorite movies. Um,
That's right.
yeah, and he what was it? He just plays like this kind of like known like nobody comedian whose shtick is like he just like copies everybody.
I always thought that Rick Moranis kind of looks like a poor man's Woody Allen.
I get it. I get it. I get it. Hmm.
Yeah.
I get it.
Um,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, Rick Moranis. I mean, there isn't too many things that you can say that you remember Rick Moranis from. Maybe maybe from the Ghostbuster movies. Definitely from Honey I Shrunk the Kids. Uh, maybe the Flintstones if you're old enough to remember the live action
that's
one
right.
with.
He was also in the remake of Little
Oh,
Shop of Horrors.
that's right. That's right. Little Shop of Horrors as well. Yeah, so not a lot of things that you can say that you remember Rick Moranis for. At least people nowadays.
There's a few of those people that they had there's a few people that had a very short stint in Hollywood and they got the fuck out.
Right. Either because one, they were part of like a mega hit, and so like they were a bit typecast, or because it was a mega hit, and because of all of the residuals and whatever that they got, they never had to work again. Or two, they were just part of like a really bad movie, and then they were never offered work after that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But what were
That's a
some of
whole
the things that
different
you what
discussion.
was some of the things that you enjoyed about this movie?
Um so I think just being able to like now I will admit that now I've seen all of Ghostbusters before. This is actually the first time that I've actually sat down and watched it, cover to cover. Um, because I've always seen it in parts. I've always seen kind of like the beginning. I've seen parts of the middle. I've seen the end, but I've actually never sat down and actually watched it all the way through.
Hmm.
Um, so I enjoyed that. Um, Obviously, Bill Murray's, Peter Venkman is A gets the most screen time. A is really funny. B is really funny. I actually really liked Winston as a character.
Oh yeah, Winston Zedmore. Yeah, I think it was
I found
enjoyable because, like, again, as I was saying, he's kind of like the proxy for the audience, and just like he was the everyman, who during even like the interview, Janine, the secretary or receptionist, she was saying like, oh, do you believe in like the supernatural, Bigfoot, aliens, this laundry list of kind of things that people make fun of people for. And then he just flatly says like, hey, if you pay me, I'll believe anything you want.
yeah, yeah. So that that line, I had forgotten about that line too, and that was like that kind of endeared me to Winston. It's like, yeah, it's like if you're gonna pay me, I'll believe whatever the hell you want me to believe in. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Uh, so I like that. Lots of great one-liners. Lots of great iconic scenes. Obviously, you have like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Hmm.
You have
Oh,
the David Bowie looking
oh yeah, the
Gozer.
David Bowie looking Zool. But
So wait, it's the so the main monsters, the main villains in the film, the monsters are because you had because Zool was one of the dogs, wasn't it? It was
oh, that's right.
because you're
Gozer.
thinking of the
Gozer
game.
was the
You're
name.
thinking of the Ghostbusters, the game where it was the Zool building, which is like which is kind of odd. And it's one of the shittiest video games in the NES era, but because it was Zool and Gozer were the dogs, right?
Was it? Huh, let me. But go as I look this up real fast. Okay. Whose farm is haunted by demonic Zul, a demigod worshipped as a servant to Gozer the Gozerian, a shapeshifting god. Lewis Tully for it's Ghostbusters. Possessed by Zul the Gate. Lewis possessed by the counterpart. Vin's. You're right. It's yeah, Gozer the Gozerian is the demigod, and then Zul is like one of the dog creatures, as well as the counterpart that the one that Lewis is possessed by is Vin's
That's right.
Clortho.
Yeah, Vince Clortho.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's Vince Clortho and Zool, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're the ones that open up the gate to release Gozer.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
Hey, is it implied that they had sex?
What for which
Like
character?
when Dana and Lewis are possessed? Because she like
Oh,
when Pete went to go see her after her possession, she's like, are you the gate, are you the key master? And he's like, no. And then she closes the door, and then, but then finally when when the possessed Lewis goes, they kind of, I think Dano's the one that like takes him and like begins to kiss him.
so no. So what happens was that so both Lewis and what was what was her name?
Dana.
Yeah, Dana were possessed. They actually had found Lewis beforehand, and so because they
Right,
were
right, right.
still
And
in.
then and then he kind of escapes and then finds his way back to the apartment, and then again, like, and then she goes like, "Oh, are you the?" He's like, "Oh, I'm the keymaster." It's like, "I'm the gatekeeper," and then
Is maybe that you know what? I think that you might be right because it's kind of the way that because initially it was Peter who went and saw Dana.
yeah, and then
Also,
and then, like the first question that she asked after being possessed, like, "Oh, are you the keymaster?"
it's like, oh yeah, I'm the keymaster. It's kind of
Right, yeah, and
because
then like
he's trying
she
to.
like basically trying to get him to do her. At least at least that's what I'm getting. At least that's the vibe that I got. And
Yeah, so
so
it's very, very possible that yeah, that was the way to fully open the gate. I don't. Oh man, that's kind of a creepy thought.
yeah. But I just remember another funny line. When Gozer asks, like, "Are you a god?" and Ray's like, "No," and then like the Gozer roars and almost blows them off the building, and then Winston's like, "It's like Ray, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes."
Yeah, I thought that was a great line too.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh that was like I said. I think overall like it's I see why people like this movie so much, why
Mhm.
people are passionate about it.
Mhm.
Um, of the movies that we've watched so far in comedy month, maybe not my favorite, but it's definitely it's an awesome movie.
Mhm. It definitely is.
There's something there was a great like fan theory video like the film theorist YouTube channel.
Yeah, yeah,
They had
yeah.
a whole video on how many calories the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that
that
video.
was that was an interesting video. So it's definitely an important movie for a lot of people,
Mhm.
and why the recent Ghostbusters film was such a travesty, and like it kind of it was kind of a stab to the heart of Ghostbusters fans who've been craving a third iteration of the series, and maybe it won't, if and ever if it does come out, it'll be kind of hard because Harold Ramis is dead, um, and so I don't know if it'll ever be like fully complete. But yeah, I get it. I know, I see why it's such a kind of a cult classic, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, they are able to get past the red tape or whatever at Sony, and they're able to make a proper third installment for the Ghostbusters series.
And like I said, I don't mind that. If, hey, like, listen, Bill Murray and all those guys, they can't be the Ghostbusters forever. I'm fine
Right.
with them moving on to a different cast of characters, but let it be a passing of the torch. Don't,
Right, and I think that's
not
what
this.
I think back in 2016, that's what we all wanted, or we were all hoping for. Um, but it didn't actually happen. And then when leaks started to happen about the script that Ivan Reitman and I think Harold Ramis contributed to was more along those lines where they just that they made Ghostbusters like kind of like Ortho or Terminex, where it became like this successful business, and then like a new generation, where and like they even like I think in their treatment they had a mixed team of men, two men and two women, and but it would just be like like the Ghostbusters, they grew and they expanded to be kind of like again the exterminators of the supernatural world.
And I'm fine with that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't mind new
I
characters.
think
I don't even care if they're female.
A lot of Ghostbusters fan, I think they would have been okay with that because what I think uh, people I think studios are afraid to expand on things. That's why we got that's why we got Force Awakens, where it was just a rehash of New Hope, and it should when I think they were just too afraid to go out and try something different. When the fans, they really just create they just really want something new, or I mean they just really want the story to progress. They don't want something to like harken, oh yeah, like, remember this, doesn't this give you the feels? It's like we don't want that. We want the story to continue. We want the story to advance, and and that's why we got like a Han Solo back to being a smuggler, and we got and we got a girl who's never been inside of a spaceship, all of a sudden can fly a spaceship, and um,
Hell, I wouldn't mind if they went like way back in the past and dealt with like some of the old like Sith lore and all that kind
oh
of
yeah, like
stuff.
old Republic stuff. If they went like old Republic,
I'd be fine with that because then you don't have to deal with all like the because that was thousands and thousands of years before Luke Skywalker ever became anything. And you could do something
right? Yeah.
you could do anything you wanted,
I mean,
and it's still Star Wars.
if they're gonna make a continuation of from the original trilogy, then don't advance the characters. Don't I think they really did. I mean, other than killing off Han Solo, they really did him dirty by making him a deadbeat dad, and someone who just goes back to being a smuggler.
And turning Leia into some lesbian.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Well, and
But
that's the
anyways, yeah.
I know. We've gone down that road.
Yeah, we gone that road plenty of times now, and I think anyone who watches this knows exactly how we feel about that.
I know exactly what your least favorite film is now.
Yeah. Well,
You
no,
said
because like
you
I have like
said
a.
that
It's not my least favorite.
episode
It's
8
not my
was.
least favorite because to be completely truthful and honest, like I don't hate any movie to the lengths that I hate Last Jedi.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I know what your least favorite movie is. It's The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but it's like it's not even like least liked. It's I hate that movie. It like it offends me personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can't just talk about it in terms of like dislike. I hate it with a passion. It is personally offensive to me.
You've
But
made that
again, I
clear in the past.
digress. Let's wrap this one up with put a little bow put a shiny bow on it. Rating. What do you give it?
I'm gonna go 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Okay.
And
Nice.
and I solid in the middle. Um, like it's definitely I think a must see. I would agree with you that maybe it's not a comedy film, but it's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all the yeah, outside of Lewis, all the characters I think are pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's different. But I like it. It's a good film.
I agree. For me, I give it a 3.
Yeah, if we were doing like a horror month, it
Mm-hmm.
would probably be a 5, like a 4 or 5, just because it's definitely more horror than comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. It's got a lot of great
Yeah, it
great
has
one
like
liners.
it has humor in it, even though it's like it's more in the vein of like a horror movie, but it has humor.